We believe that if we can move from an electronic to photonic system, not just point to point, which fiber optics does that today, but if we can get into the board to board within the server, and then chip to chip, and then even within the chip, what might that yield from an energy savings perspective? And we believe that if we can move to that total ecosystem, we can reduce the amount of energy needed to 1/10. Because Indonesia has done this before many times of having these breakthroughs, and I'm sure the opportunity will happen soon, and I'm sure I'll get to witness it and we'll be able to talk about it.
Halo teman-teman IT Leaders, bertemu lagi dengan saya Wisnu Nugroho di acara podcast CIO Insight. Sebagai informasi, CIO Insight adalah media yang fokus membahas perspektif IT Leaders perusahaan Indonesia dalam implementasi teknologi di organisasi mereka. Namun di beberapa kesempatan, termasuk hari ini, CIO Insight mencoba mengangkat perspektif IT Leaders dari penyedia solusi. Kami harap pandangan mereka dapat memberikan panduan bagi kita apa yang akan terjadi ke depan, tren apa yang terjadi di depan, dan bagaimana kita bisa mengimplementasikannya di organisasi kita. Di kesempatan kali ini, saya kedatangan tamu istimewa, yaitu Miss Rika Nakazawa. Beliau adalah Chief Commercial Innovation dari NTT. Miss Rika hadir di Indonesia dalam rangka NTT Data Ignite Indonesia 2025 yang berlangsung pada 11 September 2025 ini. Miss Rika sendiri adalah sosok yang sangat menarik. Di posisinya saat ini, dia tidak saja mendorong inovasi di dalam organisasi NTT, namun dia juga bertanggung jawab dalam memperkenalkan solusi sustainability ke pasar. Di sela-sela kesibukannya, beliau juga aktif menulis, dan salah satu bukunya yaitu Dear Chairwoman sempat menjadi bestseller di Amerika Serikat. Tidak heran jika kemudian Miss Rika dinobatkan menjadi salah satu dari 50 over 50 innovator untuk tahun 2024 oleh Majalah Forbes. Sekelumit profil tadi mungkin sudah bisa menggambarkan betapa multi talentanya Miss Rika, sehingga menjadi sebuah kebanggaan tersendiri bagi CIO Insight dapat mewawancarai beliau. Langsung saja saya sapa. Hai Rika, welcome to Jakarta, and thank you for taking time to do the podcast with CIO Insight.
No, it's my pleasure, Vishnu. This is such an incredible opportunity, and I love your city.
Yeah. So I assume you based in US, right?
I am based in the US.
So a long way from home.
Yeah, it's a long way from home, but technology gets us faster to places these days.
Okay, fair enough. So let's jump through this conversation. From my understanding in NTT, you are responsible for driving innovation and also promoting sustainability solution to NTT's customers. Can you explain how these two roles that connected and how you carry both of these out simultaneously?
Yeah, sure. So in my role, I am responsible primarily for helping to translate some of the investments that we make in R&D and innovation, and how that has pragmatic application to clients across all industries. And a lot of my time these days has been focused on space and satellite. And as you say, sustainability is a very large undercurrent to all of the things that we look at in general. And AI, of course, is a frontier technology that is capturing everybody's imagination and wanting to bring that to light and real world use cases. And so what's been very interesting is that some of the investments that NTT has been making historically, so space and satellite, for example, not rocket science, by the way, we're not doing rocket science. What we are doing is we're taking what NTT historically has been advancing terrestrially, which is around connectivity and data, and bringing it into orbit.
Oh.
So NTT, we have a satellite telephony service that we've had since the 1990s.
Oh, okay.
And since then, we've continued to invest, and we've been accelerating investments in space and satellite, as have many other industries and countries, as space and satellite ecosystem has been privatized, there's a lot of really interesting opportunities for industry to take advantage of that. And so at NTT DATA, we are going to be launching Earth observation satellites in early 2027 through a company called Marble Visions.
Okay.
And so that, from a sustainability perspective, has tremendous applications, and there's AI also has a part to play in that as it relates to using Earth observation images. So being able to capture images of your grid or of your port or of your airport. So basically large geographic footprints and rendering these 3D replicas of creating a dynamic digital twin of that footprint, and being able to run climate resilience scenarios on that, for example, to manage for flooding, to manage for fires, to manage for a lot of other physical infrastructure risk aspects of that footprint. So that's just one small example of some of the things in space and satellite. And of course, we also would imagine a future where you can embed IoT systems into that 3D digital twin. So now that you can have both the visualization of it alongside sensor information, so that could be vibration or that could be heat or some other aspects of what the OT infrastructure, IoT systems can capture to give you a really good health check of what you're looking at and run predictive models to better manage for risks down the road. So space and satellite has been very interesting. And again, it's very connected to terrestrial along with non-terrestrial. And AI has a part to play around some of these ways, because obviously with this convergence of OT and IT, you're having a tremendous amount of data. And understanding how to synthesize all of that data into insights. So data is data, but insights are going to be what help the C-suite and leaders within an organization drive those things forward. So AI is at a very high level going to help around efficiencies, optimization, risk management, compliance in ways that organizations haven't had the opportunity until now.
Yeah, I assume that when you collect data from satellites, from the IoT, the data is very big. So we need AI to look at it and to have insight from those very, very large data set, right?
Yeah, so Marble Visions is the name of the company that NTT DATA launched together with Pasco and Canon to run these Earth observation models, where we can use AW3D, which is a 3D rendering technology within NTT DATA. And we use AI today to do pattern recognition and change detection to be able to provide insights to operators on those things. But in other areas around sustainability, for us at NTT, we're really focused on thinking about sustainability basically from 5 pillars. One is around climate and nature. So Indonesia, incredibly rich in resources, biodiversity that is it's paramount to being able to enhance and advance the overall ecosystem. So climate and nature is one of the areas that we're looking at from a nature-based accounting and valuation, being able to render carbon markets and also net zero strategy and carbon accounting. Second pillar is around corporate sustainability, and that's ultimately around, I'm sure more and more companies here in Indonesia are looking at how do you map to compliance requirements. A third is around sustainable value chain, and for a country like Indonesia and the role that Indonesia plays within the ASEAN and larger markets, especially with how much more complex global supply chains have become with tariffs and other aspects of it, and really being clear on the entire value chain and how you're maintaining sustainability around that. Of course, AI helping to be able to parse a lot of that, a lot of those, the system design around it, and then sustainable IT. We are proud leaders within the Green Software Foundation, because a lot of people think about sustainability just being with hardware, but there's a lot of considerations in software as well. So we have somebody from NTT DATA who's on the board with the Green Software Foundation, and thinking through circular economy. Circular economy is a big one as well. And then smart and sustainability is really around how do we use frontier technologies to be able to drive new outcomes. And so space and satellite is in that domain, as well as thinking about new ways to apply AI and not just language models, but other agentic systems and other aspects of how that is going to manifest.
Okay. So you already mentioned about how AI can help us to answer the sustainability challenge, but AI itself also part of the problem, right? Because the International Energy Agency predict that AI will cause a 30% increase in annual in energy demand. So how you see that, how we can balance that AI, that we use consume energy, but they also can help to help us to answer the sustainability challenges.
Vishnu, very much a hot topic. I have a talk that I give called AI and Sustainability Walk into a Cafe. What happens, right?
Yeah.
Because the question is AI and sustainability, are they copacetic? Can they coexist?
Yeah.
And having been at NVIDIA back in the day, so when I was at NVIDIA, I was part of a team that was putting discrete GPUs on a phone.
Okay.
And so I experienced firsthand how hot the phone got, as well as how quickly the battery died with the discrete GPU. Now that was the old architecture, right? Obviously NVIDIA's been making huge leaps around AI infrastructure architecture, not just on the hardware side, but the software side as well. And I think that Jensen, extremely brilliant leader and forward thinker, is also thinking about how AI is going to, and how the GPU component within the AI value chain and ecosystem is going to help drive greater efficiencies on that. And given that data centers are now becoming the locus of AI, because the AI is in data centers that are going to be consuming energy. NTT DATA, we're number 3 in data centers, so we think about this very carefully. We are absolutely adopting innovative cooling systems to be able to make sure that we're doing this in a more sustainable way. But also we're working on something called the All-Photonic network. And to simplify that, it's basically with systems today, computer systems and what things run on with electrons and electricity, if we can convert from electric to photonic, and photons are particles of light. And without going into the physics of it, not because we don't have enough time, but because I am not able to, is to say we believe that if we can move from an electronic to photonic system, not just point to point, which fiber optics does that today, but if we can get into the board to board within the server, and then chip to chip, and then even within the chip, what might that yield from an energy savings perspective? And we believe that if we can move to that total ecosystem, we can reduce the amount of energy needed to 1/10.
Oh, okay.
I know.
Oh, yeah.
And the throughput would be 125 times, and the speed, and this is key, which I'll get to in a moment, compounding the effects of sustainable outcomes, is 200x. 200 times faster. So now you can imagine this idea of having these fit-for-purpose data centers that are running specific purposes like storage or compute, and being able to have them be more of a micro level that can operate almost in parallel. And so that's one of the areas that we're extremely excited about and helping to contribute. And the other ideas that have been emerging is around this idea of space-based data centers. So it's pretty cool in space. Not all of it, but a lot of it. And also you have solar power in space, as long as you can angle things that are capturing solar rays.
You mean we send the data center into the space?
It's not, the vision is, I'm just imagining like sending a massive, it's not about sending these massive structures into orbit. It really is about being able to have these compute clusters on device, on satellites. And as well with the idea of laser or photonic systems from satellite to satellite, and NTT partner with JSAT, Indonesia. So JSAT is Japan's satellite, largest satellite operator, one of the largest satellite operators in this region. So we're partnering with them on this concept of space-based edge compute or space-based data centers. So it's about rewiring the way that we think about the idea of data centers. And so that's another aspect of thinking about how are we going to have this be copacetic. And I think overall, there is the opportunity for AI to also help drive much greater efficiencies from a circularity perspective, from a material waste perspective, from an energy consumption perspective, to be able to help organizations to make sure that sustainable or transparency and visibility of sustainable practices are embedded into their entire ecosystem. There's so much more to unpack there, and there's been a huge hockey stick in the number of research articles that have been written about what is the symbiotic role between AI and sustainability.
Okay, so if this technology work, we can assume that
when the technology
works, so we can hope that AI implementation, yes, it will consume energy, but the benefit of it is much larger than the energy that they consume.
Correct. And in fact, there was another research article that was written up in Nature magazine about 3 years ago, where they looked at the UN SDGs, and they looked at the 17 US SDGs, and they ran some models to figure out whether AI was going to be detrimental or beneficial for sustainability for those SDGs. And when you sum it all up, and it's a very deep research, they found that the amount of positive impacts was 3x the number of negative impacts.
Okay.
And by the way, with the All-Photonic network, it's really, I should point out that while NTT was one of the pioneers around this idea of moving to an All-Photonic network, we founded something called the Innovative Optical and Wireless Network, which is IOWN. We founded it in 2020 with Intel and Sony. Now it's more than 140 members. And from NVIDIA to Nokia and to all the large scale players. And so it is about bringing the entire digital village into that, it's a paradigm shift.
Okay, maybe I should apply there because I have a good brain here.
Oh yes, no, we need you. And that's the other thing is that we still don't know this compute system up here, this AI, this intelligence system, is we're able to do more with this, and we use so little power comparatively.
Okay, now let's talk about AI in general, especially for organization in Indonesia. From your global perspective, what are the unique opportunities and challenges for AI adoption in developing countries like Indonesia?
Indonesia is one of, if not the fastest growing nation in ASEAN region. And as I mentioned earlier, incredibly resource dense. And I've been here before for work in technology and digital, so I know about a lot of the fantastic advances that have been happening, and your own unicorns, homegrown and homebred here. I think that the opportunity is that there's greenfield, sort of this opportunity to leapfrog forward into some of the ways to advance these initiatives. Every industry that I believe Indonesia represents, from energy utilities to agriculture, forestry, manufacturing, smart cities and infrastructure, transportation, mobility, all of these areas stand to benefit from the different ways that AI is going to drive greater optimization of how systems work in concert, how to be able to parse a lot of data in a way that's going to yield new insights, sustainability and compliance and reporting and optimization and enhancing some of the sustainable outcomes around that. And I think there's also the challenge is on right now with this region is that United States, and as you read in the newspapers, this is not my opinion, it's what you read about China and the US, of course, vying for dominance in AI. And now you have in Europe as well some AI ventures that are rising. So recently we announced a partnership with Mistral AI, French AI company coming out of France, that is really positioning a tremendous amount of opportunity for the EU around sovereign AI. So sovereign AI is a hot topic. And when you combine Mistral AI's capability from an open weight, their LLM structure, and also they've been very adherent to some of the sustainability standards and codification, together with NTT Data's infrastructure, technology services and solutions, and the ways that we're going to really up-level our people and our capabilities to take advantage of what Mistral AI can do. Mistral just got a $1.5 billion investment from another European company called ASML. And ASML makes machines that make silicon chips.
Yes.
Okay? So the race is on. Now Mistral AI is the most valued company in the European Union as a result of this, and it's only going to continue having a flywheel effect, I'm sure. So now the question is, will the unicorn or decacorn AI company come out of Indonesia? Well, I think figuring out how to find the key stakeholders that are going to have common values aligned around public-private partnerships that are going to really advance Indonesia for the sake of the ASEAN region, that then can mobilize and incentivize and say, okay, what is our response to an open AI or Mistral AI in terms of sovereign capabilities, data, and intelligence, right? So I'm excited about what that's going to yield, because Indonesia has done this before many times of having these breakthroughs, and I'm sure the opportunity will happen soon, and I'm sure I'll get to witness it, and we'll be able to talk about it on another time.
Fingers crossed. With the rapid development of AI, what is the best approach for Indonesian companies? Should they wait until the use case are clear, or should they always try with even if it comes with the cost of failure?
Yeah, so I think one of the challenges is going to be there's no cookie cutter approach that I think you can take. I think use cases are great to be able to exemplify the art of the possible. And it ultimately comes back down to what is the value that you're trying to drive with AI, because AI is a tool. It's not the end all and be all, but it is a tool to be able to achieve X, Y, and Z. So understanding what is the X, Y, and Z, that's based on just baseline of where you are today and where you want to go, and being clear on that. And we have people at NTT DATA that can help customers and clients go through that journey of thinking through the roadmap, and then figure out how do we get to where we think we want to be, and then that's the springboard to where we can go from there. But just being there's this concept of being in the arena. Being in the arena is where you're there and tackling the bull or what have you, versus being up in the bleachers. I think it's important just so that you can understand, especially that's fit for purpose for your organization or your function, to be able to experiment and play with that. And we have this concept of these AI pods, right? These places where we can work with our clients to be able to figure out what it is that's going to bring the most value based on the maturity of the company, where you want to go, and really how much you want to be a pioneer and embrace that, and to be better prepared for where things are coming. Because when you look at the Gartner hype cycle on AI, there's a whole litany, a whole bunch of other aspects of how AI is going to evolve that you want to be ready for on the other side of it, right? So I think it's important to do that, and to do that with somebody like us. I'm biased, obviously, but I think NTT DATA is a really good safe pair of hands to be able to go on that journey with.
Okay, I think this is my last question. As someone with broad forward-looking perspective, how do you see AI in the next 5 years, both in the context of its use within organization and also in addressing sustainability challenges?
So 5 years, 2030. And it's interesting that you asked this question of 5 years, because a lot of companies had targets set for 2030 around sustainability. So 2030 has become this very symbolic, it's a nice round number too, right? 2030. I think that 2030, well, first of all, 2030 is going to be close to when we think that whole ecosystem of All-Photonic network will be coming to that holistic integration of photonic systems. So when we go point to point, server to server, board to board, board to board, chip to chip, and within chip. So hopefully that will be a time when we can facilitate some of the energy requirements that are going to be much lower in that sense at that point in time, wherever that might be. But I do think that by 2030, we will be in a place where there'll be these agentic systems that are able to be more autonomous, I think that those systems will certainly help around driving greater efficiencies and optimizing processes in a way that will yield sustainable outcomes as intentionally or even unintentionally around a circular economy and carbon markets being more optimized. I should have mentioned financial services earlier when I talked about the opportunity for Indonesia, because financial services has such a big footprint here in Indonesia as well. So I think that it will be, and again, we go back to the question of will AI yield greater good than not? And and this is also from what I experienced at the UN had an AI for Good program where I spoke, and I think overall the sentiment was a positive one. And so it's interesting because when you say 5 years, on the one hand, it sounds like a far away, but on the other hand, it seems really close, because let's put that into context. COVID was 5 years ago, but somehow COVID seemed both a long time ago, but also just yesterday, right, at the same time. So I think that it's going to be very interesting to see, and what we should keep an eye on in terms of figuring out a bit of the tea leaves of the crystal ball, pick your metaphor, is to look at the partnerships that continue to be forged between the pioneers. So in Japan, we have a venture called Sakana.ai that NTT has invested in. So Sakana.ai, founded by David Ha-Hyun Jones, is really looking to think differently about how to drive sort of the outcomes of LLM models. And so I'm not here to go into detail in their business, but from what I understand, Sakana.ai is looking to have this notion of a little bit more fit for purpose ways of being able to incorporate AI. So I think we don't even see yet all the different facets to where and how AI is going to get integrated and ingrained. I think that the whole area around ethics in AI and IP considerations. So in Europe, we're working with a company called Denemeyer around IP considerations and regulation on that. These are all things that need to come together as a global community from a regulation, or I don't know if regulation is, because some people have an allergic reaction to regulation, but standards and alignment for how that happens. And so, yeah, I think I've been very fortunate we are all fortunate to be in this point in time, because we're not going to sit in the stands, right? We're going to be in the arena and helping to figure out what that looks like. And so we're ready to collaborate with private sector, public sector, and even help figure out where those private-public partnerships are going to yield the best outcomes for everybody.
Okay. Thank you. I think that's all my question. I know you are a busy woman, so thank you once again
my
to talk to me and to share with our audience.
Yes.
I hope the technology that you mentioned will be achieved soon, so we will talk again soon, and you can also tell me about more technology, exciting technology going forward.
Yeah, and I would love to circle back with you, Vishnu, on how your other guests respond to that question of where are we in 2030? Because I know you do this, you speak with guests on a frequent basis, so be curious to hear what the overall sentiment is, for sure.
Okay.
But otherwise, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure and an honor.
Okay.
And I hope we get to have a chat again soon.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thanks.
Demikian teman-teman hati leaders, diskusi saya dengan Rika Nakazawa, Chief Commercial Innovation dari NTT. Semoga percakapan singkat kami dapat memberikan insight menarik bagi teman-teman terkait AI, terkait sustainability, dan juga bagaimana AI dan sustainability bisa jalan berdampingan. Sampai jumpa di podcast Yayu Chat berikutnya, dan salam.